Hey everyone, Hans here, hope you're doing well. In this video I'm going to talk a little bit about something anecdotal, travels I have done, and I've the reason why I do this is because I saw some interesting psychological patterns in a certain type of person. Where do I begin though? So Hans really loves his people. He loves nature. He loves uh, all that is good, all that is full of life, full of vigor, and which is good. You know, well-intentioned, good-hearted, good-natured. Wants to see justice in the world. Wants the right things to happen. And about such, Hans is not particularly dogmatic, however. What does that mean? I have a very simple policy in my own life that it's something that I impose upon myself, is that I am willing to give people one chance, whether they if they publicly say something completely heinous or they have truly done heinous things and it's confirmed. That's a different matter. But when you're just a regular guy who might have a different opinion, then Hans might still shake your hand and say hello, until Hans realizes that, oh, this person is an evildoer and what have you. So Hans has traveled quite a bit over the years, over his life. Well, that is to say, quite a bit. Okay amount. Always with the help of others too, because Hans doesn't have his private jet that he can fly around and pollute the planet with, and then afterwards complain to others about that pollution. You know, that's pretty evil, isn't it? Or maybe it isn't. And Hans has been invited actually a lot by those who align with a different political attitude. And I say political not because I am, but because these people are, and that's their lens. Everything is seen through the political. They see Hans talk about loving his own people, and they immediately go to, political attitude towards that. Oh, this is someone that needs to be converted. This is someone that is who does not understand. That's one they love to use. Just basically, they think that they can crawl in your head and figure out what you think, where your thoughts, hearts, and experiences lie, and all of that. But funnily enough, these types then, some of them have the inclination to invite Hans over, where they're going to show the way. They're going to show Hans, or that is what Hans thought at first. They're going to show Hans how it's really done, how you really should look at life. That is always a fun one, isn't it? When people want to get, in contact with you because they want to tell you how to live and how to think. Nothing suspicious happening there. But actually Hans takes him up on that, because otherwise Hans would not see that much of the world, and when I have that chance I sometimes try. It has to be possible, but if Hans can, he will. Or he used to, at least. Life has been changing quite a bit since then, especially in the wake of the last 3 years. Boy oh boy. But yeah, coming to the point. So it does not really matter which nation Hans went to. When he came into contact with the political left, as you could call them, the proponents thereof, Hans noticed some very curious patterns. And the predominant amount of these patterns are, these people have a background with broken family. They do not have a good relationship with their parents, usually. These people are medicated. That is to say, the sort of medication that represses parts of the mind. These people are usually staunch proponents of using all types of drugs as well. Now, Hans has never gotten into contact with someone who did the hardcore drugs that sort of stuff that they stick in there with a needle in their arm and all of that sort of thing. But definitely the type that they smoke. to soothe their aching minds, and they are also very compulsive. That is also something. They are very compulsive. They need to do everything. They constantly need to be busy, because if they do not, then these boiling memories from their difficult childhoods come back up, and they're actually in a constant state of flight from that. It's very cowardly. And if you confront them on something, if they try to convert you, basically, they will actually receive it as a personal attack. Some of them do, at least. They will receive it as a personal attack when you just simply present them with your way of thinking that dissents from such. So much for equality and love and all of that. There are some who will go so mad because they're probably so hurting on the inside that they will commit violence onto you if they know that they can get away with it. Now, Hans is a pretty capable fella, so the weight class that Hans is in is one that most of these types do not want to mess with on a physical level. Not out of morality or anything, but out of cowardice. Out of, yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that. Again, cowardice. And also because they know that Hans does actually defend himself. He's not just gonna sit there and take any abuse. They are basically practicing what they have been taught as children, is that it is okay to so long as you can overpower someone, it's okay to abuse them. And I'm not saying you only find these types on the left, you do find those types on the political right too, but the left really has harnessed that, and it's a pattern you see with all of them. On the right, not so much. You have some of that, but overall the people in that sphere, there you truly find all types. And that is a compliment in most cases. Okay, what else? Oh, and this is also the big one. They are absolutely, the vast majority of them, disinterested in helping other people if it comes at their own personal cost. What does that mean? Let's say someone needs some money, and that would ask one of these types. If it would be in public and they can get social brownie points, as it is called, for doing so, they would do it. But in their personal time, the one who would ask for the money should be lucky if he or she does not get spat in the face, and at the very least gets met with a lot of very bitter retorts and what have you. What else? Oh, and for Hans, I mean, I am very happy with my life. For all the hardships that I have to go through, I always choose to be content, at the very least. And living that life, I find, is the healthiest, while being indifferent to the attempts of harm of the petty people that wander on this planet, who come at Hans just as often as they come at you. But it is the absence of emotion towards them that really upsets these types, because miserable people, they'll take negative attention too, as long as they get attention. Now, be indifferent. That really helps. Some might say, and even some people that I consider friends might say, to be hateful towards them, they actually get a kick out of that too, because you give them energy to absorb. It's really creepy and parasitic. And yeah, to just stop the tap, that is the solution. These types, for all their talk about caring about the world and about all people being equal and all of that stuff, and now it's not even equal anymore, now it's equity, whatever that means. Equus, isn't that like something horse in Roman, in Latin I should say? Yeah, it's a strange word that has been somehow from Latin gone into English, I think. But then these types, they will invent anything, or warp anything I should say, even words, language itself. These types also, what they all have in common is they know nothing about their ancestry. They know nothing about the ancestry of their people, and they seem to be vehemently, in spite of talking about love and equality for all, they vehemently stay away from anything historical, and if they have half a chance they would much rather just destroy it so it's out of sight, out of mind, and also out of other people's minds, which is quite appalling in my book. I think history is very interesting and that we learn a lot from it. So these people have an interest in keeping others stupid. It seems that way, or at the very least lacking in knowledge. What is another pattern? They are also very dishonest, absolutely dishonest. They will come to you and they might say the right words, or when you speak to them, they are not giving genuine answers, they are just saying what they think you want to hear. And again, it's rooted in the abuse they went through as children, and that they are now still, even if they're 60 years old, it does not matter, they're still running away from. That dishonesty helps them to be, I guess it helps excuse their conscience, in being the way they are. And again, yeah, I'm going to make more videos about that in the future, I think, specifically like the phenomenon of that and explaining it a bit better. What else? And of course they absolutely dislike their own country, but they'll somehow happily wave the flags of other nations far away that they have never been in and never will be at. They do not know anything about the culture, the people, the language, nothing. Sometimes, what they do and usually know about other cultures is though the types of drugs being used there, and some of them how they can get their hands on it. That is something they know. And food. Apparently, to most of these types, culture equals food. So sensation. Does it give them their body something that they can experience in that sense? Which at the end of the day is pretty hollow still. They might be religious. Most of them are not though. Most of them are atheistic. But genuine spirituality seems to be lacking. When you talk about the deities, about the soul and all of that, what it comes down to per usual is yeah, it's really something they heard on TV or from someone else that they're just repeating. The Christian heaven-hell concept is a very common one that you'll hear among them. What else? Actually, for most part, the ones that I've met, they look at it as such. The others are clearly just atheistic. The ones I have met. And I guess that's actually that. They think that all who are walking around are just flesh puppets that can speak and are animated, and that is the end of that story. I'm not bringing this up for the sake of talking about, is the one right, are the both of them right, are the both of them wrong, blah blah blah. Hans definitely has a complete different take, but the lack of spirituality that is going on with these types as well is a pattern that I've noticed. And they will have their religious iconography that they are wearing or hanging around their house. I suppose the closest you could get when you bring up the spiritual with them is the dream catchers they have hanging around in their house, or like the imagery of some prophet of some kind. Actually, or the imagery of Eastern figures. Buddha, for example. You'll see statues of that fellow in their gardens and in their houses. But then when you really ask him what that's all about, and Hans does not know much about Buddhism or anything, but when I see it, I will ask, what's the deal? They will not be able to answer you, except maybe some vagaries. But then usually they have to be somewhere real quick. And they have to do a phone call or whatever the moment you ask them that. As far as the dream catchers, yeah, they will also, when they are from European descent, like on both sides of the family, it's nothing but whiteys, they will still usually deny that they are. They will make a false claim that they are raceless, that they have like some grandparents who come from, could be anything really. They have like an Asian grandparents here, and they have Indian cousins there, whatever it's going to be, and somehow this then proves that they themselves. But this is all lies, right? It's not a thing, because if you then would ask them, "Oh, do you have family pictures of that?" They never do. Or they'll show you a picture, but it's like, okay, but that's just one person. Where's the rest of the family then? So yeah, again, dishonest, deeply self-loathing, I sense in that, and in denial of reality. But then again, since that they were abused as children, many of them, I think, to varying extents, it doesn't need to be the most dark of stuff. They can still, yeah, they're trying to flee their heritage, their bloodlines too. Mm-hmm. And by doing so, well, yeah, actually no, I'm just gonna talk about what I do. The why and all of that, maybe for another video as well. Also, one that Hans really noticed is that when I was with these people, they would, a fair few actually, not even a majority of them, just a few of them who did, they would ask such things as, "Oh, do you like it here? Do you like it here? Do you love the place? Do you like the food? The food, very important." It's like not the heritage, in general, the castles, the deities, the the heroes. No. Do you like how we, I don't know, how we make our sausages and all of that? And that's nice. Nothing wrong with it in and of itself. But that's also usually where it begins and ends with them. And it's not so much about, well, what's hidden behind that, I think, is not so much do you love the nation here, because they are against their nation, so they cannot say that. They have to say it in such a way, or they mean it in such a way as, do you approve of me, Hans? It's that kind of question, which I find very uncomfortable when that is the motivation of a bunch of questions. Because it means also that these people think in a master-slave dynamic, and now I suppose it gets really juicy, because that is what most of them do. You're either bigger and therefore the master, or you're smaller and therefore the slave. Very, very uncomfortable. Like, that's the sort of stuff that gives me a cold sweat when people are like that, but unfortunately many are. Because that is something that Hans just does not like. Maybe in that sense, Hans thinks that everyone is equal, not equal in ability, not equal in personality, but definitely equal in the sense of you're here on this planet and you were given life, you're part of nature. In that, I mean, there's no denying that, right? But that is, again, I guess, for political means, it does not achieve mastery over others, external power, the dark side of the will to power, rather than the good side of it. That is the power over others, or the power over the self-mastery, basically. Yeah, what else? There is more. Oh, and of course the absolute disinterest that these people have for the culture, the people, the social etiquette of the community that, for example, Hans comes from. Not a single question, not a single ounce of interest. And isn't that curious? Because these people speak about there not being any borders, usually. Actually, all of them. There are no borders. So everyone can freely go where he or she sees fit. But they are absolutely disinterested in what is beyond, their immediate region. So these types open up everything to a world that they are disinterested in. Now they say they are, they say they care, but how can you care for something if you don't know what it is? That is, how does that work? It does not, right? You cannot care for the non-existent. That makes no sense. You cannot even care for something that exists that you don't know it exists. If you have never if you've never heard of the black apples that grow in Tibet, I think it's Tibet, then how can you care for them? Only the people who grow them can really do. The people that like to eat them, I suppose, or like to plant more trees with them, those people can care for something as such. I know it's a random thing I throw in here, but yeah, that again just shows the disingenuous attitude of those types. And that is a pattern that they all seem to share. They talk so much about the good of the world, but they have absolutely no interest in it. They're far too busy with their own compulsive behaviors. And it can be anything, really. Some examples I have seen is like the house needs to be perfectly clean at every instance, or when you open a door and you close it, you need to open it again and close it again and open it again and close it again, and then it's okay, and then you lock it. Like this sort of behavior, these sort of things, usually while they are sucking on something that is not healthy, that a sane person, a healthy person does not need in his or her life. So yeah, why? I guess there is far more to bring into it as well. They also they speak about free communities. Oh yeah, of course, almost the big one. They are very much in love with dictatorship. Oh yeah. Because they need someone to give structure in their lives that they cannot come up with themselves. I mean, like I just explained too, these people are just so in need of being distracted. They are so in need of being of having to shush their conscience, that it is very attractive to them to listen to a very loud voice that tells them what to do, and then they can happily go off doing it. It does not matter what it is. It can be the most glorious work and it can be the most horrific work. It's not about the work itself or what's behind it, the motivation underneath. It's all about just distracting themselves from their inner pains that they went through. And they will hurt others before they face their own fears. They face their own pains. It's as Julius Caesar once said in one of his diaries, that it's far easier to get a man to get himself killed than to undergo torture. That is quite alarming, and it is nothing new. Like that is from 2070-ish years ago, I think, something like that. So yeah, what do you do with that? Now, I'm not saying this just to point fingers. I'm saying this because this could be important in your life. And you will find types like this on the political right too, although in far less extent. The thing is that when these types of beings, these types of people congregate in mass groups where they will find that loud voice or the voice of the crowd to follow, no matter where that will lead to. And usually, well, look at history where it usually goes. It becomes dark very quick. And again, that is nothing new. Such crowds have been survived by many. But partially why so many crowds came to be and did the damage they were able to do was because most people did not see these patterns or did not quite understand the where and how. There are these geniuses from the past who did look into it, but again, the crowd usually went after them. And it takes personal bravery for those who do not align with that, who want to see heroism, who want to see the good, to come up with two main cures for all of this that I can come up with. And this is also anecdotal, because these people are far from brave. They revere martyrdom at best. What is martyrdom? It's essentially someone who is in such a state of pain, such flight from themselves, that they want to end it all, but they want to do it while still getting attention. And so they will do something absolutely crazy. Can be many things. Usually they only hurt themselves, but there are many instances where they hurt others. Something that, some dots start connecting people. And it is basically a final look at me, and then lives are ended often, usually their own as well, because of being cowardly. They flee from everything, so also the consequences of their actions, right? Many of them will do the last horrific thing and then end it for themselves, or do it all in one go, so that nobody can mete out justice upon them for doing this horrific thing, whatever it is they do. Looking at it from such a perspective, rather than saying, oh, you wear this color and I wear that color, so now we have to go at each other and blah blah blah. No, I think this is far more interesting, far more important to look at this as such, and it will also help you inform. Oh yeah, I'm coming to the cures, pardon me. Two main cures. First one, bravery. Have the bravery to speak to these people. They are cowardly, so know that if you are brave, you're already one step up from the position they have chosen for themselves, if you will. And also honesty. But you need to understand what you're looking at, because honesty without the words, without knowing what to say, that does not get you anywhere. You need to understand what it is that is going through their heads, why they behave the way they do, and then only you can call them out if you have the bravery to do so. That's a combination of all of that. So knowledge, the Odinic journey, even you could call it in many ways. Is there anything else? I'm sure enough I'm about to close off because the machine is about to give out. Yeah, I guess maybe to finish the anecdotal part of it all is, Hans has always just been honest, respectful, and his merry self. I've always been very loyal to myself, or just loyal. You either are loyal or you're disloyal to yourself. Does not mean that Hans gets himself in needless trouble or is particularly brutish in delivering the honesty of it all, but just casually calling out their behaviors and why they do what they do. There is a man, Michael Tsarion, who really gave Hans a lot of, well, not I do not know him personally, but by observing his works, Hans has learned a lot about refining what I was already seeing, over these last few years. And where it used to be is that Hans might have said, yeah, but you're behaving nuts, like that's crazy talk that you're going on about, and calling it there, that already upsets these types, because they know you're seeing something in them that they do not like, but because you cannot exactly call it out, it's like you're saying that because you're taking these pills, who are, why you're taking them because you're repressing something, and what it is that you're repressing is probably that you were hurt as a child by by miscreants, and you've gone miscreant yourself or whatever, something like that. That hits them so much closer, and it does, you're not hurting them, it's the evildoers who hurt them as children, that that are that are the cause of that pain inside of them. The thing what a coward does, though, is a coward blames others around him, everyone except the actual perpetrator. That is what a coward does. And if enough types like that can run around freely, becoming ever more, spiraling down in that mindset, further and further, fleeing and fleeing some more, and having these bitter urges inside of them that come out, the resentment of happiness that follows from that, and so forth and so on. It gets dark very quickly, let's put it like that. But you can get in the way of that, because these people, if you can summon what these perpetrators, what these perpetrators summon in them, if you can bring light and clarity to that, they will stay away from you in that sense. Some of them will actually heal themselves, and others will just, I think most of them would actually retreat from hurting others that have nothing to do with their pain. Mind you that, actually there are some things I want to say, but it's too soon for that. Because it took a while for Hans to realize all of this as well. It takes the time to really absorb this and really understand it. So I'm trying to not to deliver too much, and that's also why I wanted it to be anecdotal, to make it a bit more not personal, but although there is that aspect to it too, just to show, I guess, from a warmer spot than just cold logic, right? Hans has met such people and has faced such people, and is still facing a lot of such people. But understanding where they come from, and if they come at you, then you know what to say yourself. You just have to be brave enough then to say it, and truly stand your ground. You need to be able to love yourself when you're going down this path, or up this path even. It's an upward spiral that you go to. They're the ones who go down the path. And let them choose for themselves if they want to do better or not. And that be that. And that is also how you will recognize, should something in society happen, or as some call it, the fall of the West, should that occur, this will help you recognize people that you perhaps should be wary of. Because the main thing that they all also have in common is they do not love themselves. Therefore they do not respect themselves. And as a consequence of that, by not respecting themselves, they cannot respect anyone else. By not loving themselves, they cannot love anyone else. If you think that someone like that is going to watch your back just because he or she has the same uniform on or whatever as some, they have the same religious iconography around their neck or in their house or whatever it's going to be, you've got a big surprise coming your way. Should a point come where you actually need them for whatever it could be, you fall ill and you need help, or you get beset in the street by a gang or something like that, these people will leave you to the hyenas. The interesting part also is when all of such types come together in a big mass, know that that none of those, in spite of being in this mass, can trust one another either, right? The white anti-white can never be trusted by any white, even other white anti-whites. Hyenas cannot trust one another because at the first thing that happens that goes wrong, the hyena will abandon other hyenas and will laugh, giggle, bite, even whatever while at it. So yeah, that's what I have to say for now. I hope all of you get something out of that. I think most will, and truly this is why I think that politics also is something that's not necessarily worth getting into, because it is the game of such types. Or perhaps it isn't. Maybe Hans is wrong. I'll leave it up to you to decide for yourself what you think. And with that said, I will talk to you soon. More updates on the book on the way, and you all have a good one. Bye bye.